good. And then the other ones will be live, so you can hit those. And then, yeah. All right. Olivia.
Oh, hi.
How are you? Thanks for taking the time. Sorry about the wait. We're just getting our shit together today.
Yeah, for sure.
Matthew James Blake is my Jamie in the background. We're watching we're on Twitter, Facebook, and later we'll be on YouTube. Tell me about your social media. We're just talking offline a little bit. I'm torn between not going live on these cheesy platforms, like, well, not cheesy, but it seems like cheap views. You know what I mean? Like, people are coming into the Facebook. You get 500 views. You know these people aren't watching for more than 30 seconds or so. And I'm torn between not doing it live on these ones and taking the cheap views and forcing everyone over to my YouTube channel, because I need 1,000 subscribers before I can go live now. Thank you very little, YouTube. And so how are you approaching it as far as trying to build your channel?
Yeah, well, I do try to like funnel a lot of my traffic from Twitter over to YouTube, because that's a platform where I feel like people become more legitimate. I think it's way easier to amass Twitter followers because, you know, there's retweets, you know, you can tag people, all that kind of stuff. On YouTube, it's much harder. So I do try to get my, like, I don't know, like followers from Twitter to become subscribers on YouTube. But it is hard. So as I was saying before, I do like to put like a little preview of a YouTube video on Twitter and be like, okay, click the link to come over there. I don't do a lot of live streams. Like, when I do, it's very informal. I usually use like Periscope or something to like post it on Twitter. But yeah, that's it. That's about it. Cool.
So tell everyone about yourself. How old are you? Where are you living? What are you doing? You're at school. You know, give us the full, start with the correct pronunciation of your name, because I don't want to say it wrong. I got the first part. I think I got Olivia fine. It's Olivia, right?
Well, you're Canadian, right? You should be able to figure. Yeah, okay, it's Rondeau. E-A-U. Yeah.
Rondeau. Okay, Rondeau. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so give us a brief bio.
So I'm 18. I'm currently a political science major, and I'm wrestling as well. So I'm a college wrestler. I've been wrestling since my freshman year of high school. And I think those two like kind of play off of each other, like being interested in politics and being interested in wrestling. I feel like they do go hand in hand, because it takes a lot of like confidence and like assertiveness to do both, especially as like a female, I guess. And basically what I would consider myself is a activist / journalist. I write articles sometimes. I produce YouTube videos, sometimes comedy, sometimes informational, sometimes like a documentary style. And I give my opinion, and people seem to like that. So that's what I do. Not everyone likes it. If you're on Twitter, for sure, you're going to have your fair share of your own haters. So where do you get off? True. Where do you get off, Olivia? 18 years old. Like, how can you actually think that people care what you think, or that your opinions actually matter? Obviously, I'm being tongue in cheek, but it takes a little bit of courage to put yourself out there. I think you're probably a little bit conservative leaning. I think you're a Trump supporter. Yeah. That's got to be tough. Yeah. How do you measure that? I would consider myself like a right-wing libertarian-ish. Okay. I really don't like aligning myself with any type of party, because, you know, people, you know, just automatically assume like, oh, Trump supporter, like Republican or conservative Republican. And I do have a lot of issues with the Republican Party that I've talked about. And so I am active in like Republican circles and Republican groups, because it's like at this point, if you're right of center, there's no way you can vote for a Democrat. And like the Libertarian Party is like a joke. So yeah, I'm just here. Their principles are good though. Small government, you know, they stay out of your life. They're for, you know, things that a lot of the libertarian principles seem to kind of go with the Democrats and the left wing. Legalization of marijuana, maybe legalization of all drugs, that kind of thing. But then, you know, the waters have sure been muddied, it seems, because if you're anything right of center, then it's almost like you're alt-right now, and the left has got so far left. Like, I'm a 10-time Green Party candidate. I've been left my whole life. I'm still left on social issues. I'm right on fiscal issues. The Green Party's always been that as well. But, you know, I kind of fall in the Dave Rubin group of people that say, you know, I didn't leave the left. The left left me. Like, they've gone so far radically left that I just can't get with,
their lack of acknowledgement of science and biology when it comes to genders, their lack of support of free speech, and now these Antifa dressing in black, just getting a free pass, it seems like, and I tweeted yesterday, the right doesn't come out to these little lefty parades. The left comes out to the right's parades, and they're all violent. It's frustrating for me to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I've had direct experience with Antifa. I don't know if you saw, but I posted a video on YouTube where I infiltrated and went undercover in an Antifa rally, and then I went, like, there was a day of the Demand Free Speech rally, so there was like a lot of like big conservative names there, like Laura Loomer was there, Milo Yiannopoulos was there, and then across the street there was like, the Black Lives Matter Antifa group, so I infiltrated them and like filmed a little bit, and then went back over to like the conservative side, and then Antifa came over like and attacked us. Like, it was insane.
Well, are you meeting some of these celebrities like Milo and whatnot at these rallies? Are you getting close to them and exchanging contact information and whatnot?
Not Milo. Okay, the thing about Milo was actually pretty funny because
Milo is hilarious.
He's a little crazy. Yeah. But I had a press pass at the Demand Free Speech rally, so I got to go up on the stage and like record while he was speaking. And at the rally, he was dressed as Laura Loomer.
Oh, so I saw that. That's where Gavin McKinnon spoke. He was hilarious.
Yeah, and then I really wanted to ask for a picture with him because he's just like an icon.
Yeah.
But I was like so scared. Like, I felt like he was just gonna drag me for some reason. Like, I don't know. Like he just like. He's like, I tweeted out, I was like, I wanted to ask Milo for a selfie, but honestly, he's scarier than Antifa, and I mean that as a compliment. And then he found that tweet and posted it in his Telegram channel or whatever, and like a few thousand people saw it. I don't know, I thought that was cool. He acknowledged my existence, but I was too scared to talk to him.
That's awesome, and having him as the MC or I guess the MC of the, what was it, the Pride, the straight pride.
Oh God, yeah. Honestly, I think all those like over the top pride parades are kind of cringy. Mm-hmm. Like, and then I feel like none of the signs I saw from the march, they like didn't have anything to do with like heterosexuality. I just saw like a lot of like American flags, a lot of Israeli flags. Lots of like Trump hats and stuff. I don't know.
I think what the left and the media don't really understand is that this is a big troll. This straight pride parade was nothing about
for sure. Like, it wasn't really about like straight pride. Like, no. They're not like proud of being straight. It was just like a big joke, kind of.
I've never considered being proud of my heterosexuality. I've just been that way all the time, and I'm fine. You know what? If you want to be gay or even trans, be who you want to be. Call yourself what you want to be. Even, be the sex you want to be. I have no problem with that. Now, I got a little bit of a problem with the kids. Like,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Because like, even like the trans issue and how like it's like LGBTQIA. 2SS plus. That's where I have a little bit of an issue, because I think love who you love. Like, I literally have no issue with that. Like, that's where I am very libertarian on. Like, I'm pretty libertarian on like marijuana and like same-sex couples, same-sex marriage, all that kind of stuff. But like when it comes to children transitioning, which is like growing exponentially, especially in places like the UK where they're pretty lax on that type of stuff. Like, it's crazy. Like, I just feel like every day I read a story about like a 3-year-old that changed his name, or like a 10-year-old that's on like puberty blockers. Like, it's actually insane. So that's where I'm not libertarian on. I'm like, yo, we need like some type of rules in place, because the kids cannot do that. Like, that's child abuse.
So what do you feel are the top issues for you? What do you think? I pose this question to many people that come on the show. It goes something like this. Like, what do you think the top few issues are, conversations that we need to have or are having very badly right now that we need to get right? I think, there's obviously one with free speech. I think anyone on the right now is concerned about free speech, especially the way conservatives are being censored. And then, maybe there's a religious conversation that we need to have, the Muslim, Christian, Jewish question, type of thing. So what do you think are the top issues, or what do you find yourself really passionate about talking about these days?
So under my like conservative umbrella, I do consider myself like three things. So, oh wait, you're gone. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. So I
didn't go anywhere. I'm just helping my producer out here. So go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, it froze for like a good 5 seconds, and I was like,
oh okay. No, I just left the picture.
Okay. So under like my conservative umbrella, I consider myself a nationalist, a capitalist, and a constitutionalist. And so under those like subcategories, my three, or like I guess my main issues is, like obviously constitutional rights, and so that, free speech, Second Amendment, all that kind of stuff. Capitalism, I'm very, very into learning about and talking about capitalism, especially in impoverished areas in America. So I talk about the effects of capitalism versus socialism on Black and urban communities. And then I like to talk about immigration. So those are like my things, because I'm very passionate about immigration, and I think that I'm more right on that than most Republicans. So my views are like kind of all over the place, but mainly conservative.
So as far as conversations go, what conversations do you think we're doing really badly that we need to have a better understanding of and a more fulsome debate of?
Race, for sure.
Race? Okay. I'm surprised to hear you say that.
Yeah, no, like I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, everything's racist, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
But I just mean in the sense that, so the left is like, everything's racist. If you're this race, you have to do that. If you're that race, you have to vote for that. Like I've experienced that myself. And then on the right, what I like to call like the boomer right, like a lot of like older people like on Twitter, they're always like, oh, racism doesn't exist, or like, like police brutality doesn't exist. Like, we can acknowledge that it exists, and we can talk about how to fix it. The left isn't fixing it by bringing it up where it doesn't belong, and the right's not going to make it go away by never talking about it, by shutting it down, by saying, oh, there must be another explanation. Like, like some things are just bad, some things are just evil, and some things are just racist. Like, not everything is like a leftist plant. Like, there are people who are legitimate racist, and I don't think it's the majority of people. I definitely don't think it's the majority of white people, but I just think we have to have an honest conversation about it. So on both sides of the party, both sides of the spectrum.
No, I get it completely, and I agree with you. What's your nationality?
I was born in America, but my mom's side is British, so her family came over like after World War II.
Okay.
And then my dad's side is like American descendant of slavery, so like African American.
Now, do you consider yourself a minority then?
Yeah, I'm a minority.
Okay. Because looking at you, you don't look like one to me, but I don't know your heritage.
I don't look like the average. I mean, the average American is still white, and even like Black Americans, they still don't look like me. So I'm like a double minority because I'm not really like Black, not really white. So
yeah, I think where the conversation breaks down, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, where the left thinks that everything is racist. The far, as you described them, the boomer right, I think, are more apt to say it doesn't exist, and I fall more on that side because I think the numbers are so small. Yeah, does police brutality exist? Yeah. Is it rampant throughout the system? I think not. I think the majority of cops are good people. The majority of people are good people. You have the extremists, and this is my frustration. I kind of went down this road of like, why are the right and left so far apart and at each other's throats? Why are men and women at each other's throat and so far apart? We've been further apart at different times in history as races, as sexes, and all this kind of stuff. But I think there's got to be a happy medium somewhere. And I appreciate your comments about like everything's racist versus it doesn't happen. But in the greatest scheme of things, I think when it does happen, it's such a small minority. But then the minority seems to have a really loud voice promoting injustice these days. And then it turns into everything's injustice, everything's racist, everything's sexist, and it turns into a false narrative, like the gender pay gap. I mean, we've closed it. Women are doing great before 35. In fact, they're earning more than men before 35. And then, they have babies after. What do you think? They're going to go out of the workforce for a lot of them. They're like, babies are important to people, men and women. They like to have families. Shocker, so...
Yeah, I agree, and I feel like that whole gender pay gap narrative is just kind of, I feel like it's like it's not only pitting men and women against each other, but it's also kind of making them like one and the same. Like, I don't think women and men have to like be exactly the same at everything. Like, they can be equal and be treated equal, have equal rights, but like not accounting for the fact that, yeah, lots of women like to be stay-at-home moms, like lots of women like to have kids, like lots of women have to settle down. That's not like unfeminist of you. That's not like that's not internalized misogyny. Like, you don't have to go to work if you have a husband and you have kids, like you don't have to, like it's fine. Yeah. And I'm not even a traditionalist. Like, I'm not really about that, but I'm not going to judge you if you are, you know?
Yeah. Talk to us about your wrestling career a little bit. Do you have the talent to go pro, do you think? Is that something you envision doing, or where do you want to take it? Or are you just doing it as like a hobby, as a sport, as a young woman?
Well, like pro, like WWE pro?
I know that kind of pro. Like, I mean, Olympic maybe? Well, Olympic's not pro, but do you see a career in it?
I mean, in 2017, I don't even talk about this a lot, but in 2017, I was actually on the Olympic development team for wrestling. And so I moved, I went to boarding school, did the whole thing, wrestled, all that kind of stuff. So I do think I have the potential. Now that I'm focused more, I've been focused more on politics and like, school and all that kind of stuff the past year, like my senior year of high school. But now I'm at college and, getting back into it. But yeah, I mean, there was a time when the Olympic coaches were really looking at me, and I'm a 6-time All-American and I'm a 3-time national champion. So
nice.
I mean, I don't know. It depends how. Honestly, it depends how far I want to go with it, because, like, not at the risk of sounding like really cocky, I feel like if I really put my heart and my mind into it, I could do it. Mm-hmm. It just depends if I'm like spreading myself too thin with all the other stuff I do. Well,
it's going to take a huge sacrifice too, a lot more than your studies would take. I mean, training is, it's all day, all night. If you want to stay in Olympic form, you've got to be eating right, sleeping right, controlling everything about your body. Really, you can go all day with your studies and kind of go off the rails all over the place if you want. You know what I mean? But if you're an athlete, that's some dedication and a serious sacrifice.
Yeah.
You watching MMA at all?
Yeah, I used to watch UFC with my dad like a lot. Not too much lately. I'm not a huge fan of like television in general lately, but I used to watch UFC. Like I remember when Ronda Rousey was first on the scene, yeah, and like I was obsessed with the original UFC women, like Ronda Rousey, Miesha Tate, like going at it. I loved them. I also liked. I was a big fan of the wrestlers and the grapplers before I even wrestled. So like I would watch like Brock Lesnar. I also loved Anderson Silva a lot. I think the last UFC fight I watched was probably like McGregor versus Khabib, which was really? Last year. Yeah, I don't watch it anymore. It was kind of a funny fight though.
So what are you active at school? You say you're politically active. What are your pet projects down at school? And what school are you at anyway, if you can say?
Yeah, I can say I'm at a school called East Stroudsburg. It's in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. And I joined the College Republicans actually, and I think my goal in that was to try to open that conversation, like about race, but not just race, about doing that outreach that the Republicans desperately need that they don't do. And I was actually a little bit impressed the first day I went there. And like the treasurer or something is like this white guy. I think he's like 20 or something. But he was like, okay, so we actually have, like, I didn't even say anything, but he was like, we have to have that conversation about how to reach out to Black people. I've been watching a lot of Candace Owens, blah, 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 blah. Like he was going off. I don't know if it was because I was there or not, but he was just like saying it.
Virtue
so
signaling,
okay, cool.
Candace Owens is a breath of fresh air. I really like her. I mean, she's well-spoken. She's well-researched. And I got a lot of time for her. And you know what? I hate this idea that you can't be Black and conservative in the States. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, like, at least in my experience, a lot of Black people are conservative, even almost more so conservative than I am. Like, a lot, like if you go to like a Black church, like all that LGBT whatever, they don't mess with that kind of stuff. They don't mess with like immigration. They don't mess with people taking away their Second Amendment rights. They don't mess with like public schools. Like they don't mess with a lot of that stuff. But a lot of like, and people have this narrative that Black people are like, this is one thing I do have an issue with. I don't like when people say like, oh, Blacks are on like the ghetto Democrat plantation, blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't like that terminology, I would say. But I feel like the reason that or not with race and, you know, race relations. And then in a lot of these like Democratic strongholds, the Democrats run unopposed or against a like nobody candidate who has like 12 Twitter followers. Like it's not going to happen unless the Republicans actually try. So instead of sitting around here and being like, you're on a plantation, be a free thinker, blah, 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 like they actually have to try. So I feel like that's why I kind of joined College Republicans, because I was like, nothing is going to change unless I'm a critic of the Republican Party as a conservative. I was like, nothing's going to change unless I actually go and change it. So like, you know, I'm hoping to fix something, but I'm starting small. I mean, I'm at like a mid-sized university in Pennsylvania. So
right. So is that where your roots come from, as far as you're looking to make a change? You think you can make a difference, you can foster a better conversation, you can be active in just, you know, maybe not changing people's mind, but just getting the conversation started?
Yeah, again, at the risk of sounding cocky, I do think I can make a change, and that's why I'm majoring in political science, because I would like to come back and be in local government, especially Baltimore and DC, because I'm from Maryland. I'm like halfway in between DC and Baltimore. I'm in Montgomery County, so yeah. So that's kind of what I want to do. I really like. I don't know. I consider myself to be like a very pro-Black person, and I feel like Black people have had like the short end of the stick, you know,
historically.
in American history. Yeah, historically, and right now, you know, they're kind of stuck. So like my dad's family's from Detroit, and a lot of his family is still stuck in that system, that cycle, and yeah, that's what I would try to fix if I was like elected, but like down here in Maryland.
And at the risk of offending you, what do you want to do when you grow up? Do you know yet?
A little offended. I'm just kidding. Well, I would like to continue with my journalism. So you saw I was recently on OAN, which I thought was like really cool. It was a nice experience. And I met like the chief editor or somebody. Like I met a lot of people, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you can intern for us next summer." So I was like, "Bet." Because I really like journalism, and when I was there, I really liked the way they do things there. But there are like a few publications I would love to write for at some point. But you know, after I graduate, and after I'm in like the real world, I would definitely try to work on campaigns. I would try to, you know, work in like a municipal office or building, or like just work for politicians until I can like become one, like just to see how it works, I guess.
Cool. Who are you listening to? Who are you watching? As far as you know, commentary these days?
I watch a lot of Steven Crowder,
he's
fellow
hilarious.
Canadian, right?
Yeah. Well, I always joke, I always tweet, he hasn't liked one of my tweets. I can't get any action off this guy. Every tweet.
No, he doesn't notice me either. So I really want him to. Like the day I see him follow me, it probably won't ever happen. But the day I would just cry.
Every tweet I make is Steven Crowder hates Canada and Canadians, and I can't get a reaction out of him at all. I know he's Canadian, so you know it's a fellow Canadian, and you know I'll just say about Crowder. One, hilarious. He can act. Yeah, he does the greatest impressions. He's well produced. That is not a cheaply run station or whatever you want to. His network
is like the comedy stuff he does looks like an actual movie. Like sometimes, like
oh yeah, that Kiss video that he did and the impressions and everything. It's just nails. I think. His live show's a little bit overproduced. Like I think it's a little not overproduced, but it seems a little scripted. You know what I mean? Like from even the players on the outside, and maybe it's just me, but he's a guy I got a lot of time for. I very rarely miss a Thursday night at 8:00 when Crowder's on. I love him. But who else are you watching?
I watch a little bit of Dave Rubin. I think he has interesting guests, and sometimes he brings on guests that aren't like well known. Like it's not always like a superstar pundit or whatever. So
Max
I do enjoy
Bernier
that.
on. Max Bernier's a nobody basically from Canada and brand new federal party. I mean, not a nobody. He's an elected MP, but he doesn't have the profile. Yeah, he doesn't have a profile that well. And I was impressed when Ruben had him on. And Ruben is such a sweet human being, and he really gives people space to talk. And I think Rogan does a good job of that as well. But I've gone away from Ruben a little bit more because I just don't have the time. Not obsessed, but I can't get enough of Tim Pool. Like, he's putting out so much product, and for a left-leaning guy to be that objective, I like his style, and I like his objectivity. So, who else are you watching? You a Shapiro fan at all?
I used to be. Like, he was I watched him in high school, like all those videos. It's like Ben Shapiro destroys feminist post, I watched all those or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't like dislike him. I'm not like super like in love with his commentary and stuff anymore. I just feel like I outgrew it a little bit. I don't know. I feel like he helped me like become a conservative, but then I differ from him in a lot of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like his comments on like gay marriage, and how he feels the need to say that he hates rap music every month. So I don't know.
And the Jewish question, obviously, he's really pro-Israel. I mean, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but I mean, I like Shapiro too. He seems to be objective for the most part. What I love about Shapiro is he has no problem ripping and dragging Trump, and sometimes he deserves it. And
well, sometimes when he rips Trump, like I've been like, sometimes it's like I don't know. I think sometimes it's like so unnecessary. Like there was this one tweet, I honestly forgot what it was about, but he congratulated Trump on doing something right, and then like just called him a name. So I was like, is that necessary? Like I get it, but like I don't know. I feel like sometimes he tries to pander too hard and be like, look, I'm a good conservative. I'm not an evil, deplorable. Look at me, liberals. And it's like not working.
Right now, the most entertaining guy on the planet for me is Gavin McInnes. I can't get enough of that guy, man. And I guess when you got a little bit of money and you don't have to worry about getting a job and whatnot, you can say whatever you want. And I mean, Dave Chappelle's new special. I love the guys that just do not give a shit and will say whatever. Now he can get away with it. I love the joke about when the creative director or somebody, the compliance officer, drags him in and says, "Now, Dave, you can't say faggot," and he's like, "Oh, yeah, wait a second. That I'm not going to go do the whole bit because I don't want to say the word that he blasts, and he can get away with it because he's a gajillionaire, but just funny. And then I find out he stole Owen Benjamin's joke, like that joke about the LGBT and driving the car. Owen Benjamin,
was that stolen?
Yeah, Owen Benjamin did. Well, Owen didn't have them in a car, but he was talking about the L's and how no one likes to be, or like he was. Yeah, a lot of that. One specific line was, I saw Benjamin, and I used to watch Benjamin too, but he kind of went off the rails a little bit as far as, well, I don't know. Here's another guy that just doesn't care. He'll just say it. But these guys are comedians. So there's something different about a guy like Dave Chappelle. Compare him to Shapiro, let's say. You can't say Crowder can even get away with because they're considered comedians. But if you're just a regular guy, you can't be funny like that. And then
maybe I should be a comedian instead.
Yeah, well,
I just want to say all the stuff I want to say. But if I say, "Oh, it's for comedic effect," they're like, "Oh, you're fine, you're good."
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. What other issues? What kind of tweaks you right now when you go on social media? And I try to stay off it in the mornings because I don't need my head filled with garbage right off the bat. Sometimes I don't do very well at that, but there's some things that you look at and you go, "Oh, geez!" Like what tweaks you as far as incites your inner rage? Let's say.
When I see, well, like right now, like free higher education is a big deal.
Really?
And yeah, like people really want it. And I tweeted yesterday in my 8 a.m. class, It's intro to public administration. So basically what I want to do, being in local government, blah, 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 blah. So that's the class. My professor was like, how many of you think that the government is too big, takes too much of your taxes, all that? Like 90% of the class raised their hands. A couple of kids were on their phones. So basically 100% of the class that was paying attention raised their hands. And then
they let you have phones in class? There should be a box in the classroom. You have to put all your phones in.
certain professors are pretty lax. Like I have some professors that are like, I have this one professor that's like, if you take out your phone, you have to leave the class. So I always keep it in my bag in that class. But some professors are just like, whatever.
They don't just
like it's kind of like up to you. It's like if you want to take notes, but you're gonna fail if you don't. Like that type of thing. And then the professor asked, like, okay, so how many of you guys want free higher education? Then half the class raised their hands, and I was like, y'all want less taxes and smaller government, but you want the government to run your higher education. Elementary schools and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, why would you want that?
Sorry, we just lost you for the. You're just catching fire, and we lost the tail end of that little clip. Anyways, you were going on about your reaction to people of higher education, and how you want to pull your hair out after you hear it.
I mean, it blew my mind that like the cognitive, like just oh my god, just on one hand you want lower taxes, smaller government get out of your life, and on the other hand you want the government to literally own the school that you go to for higher education, the one that you want to go to launch your career, launch your job, learn how to like manage your finances and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't even like public schools in general. Like I think we should have like more charter schools, more private schools.
Charter schools are doing great, especially in the Black community. They're so successful.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow, it's like, what I don't get what the problem is when we see something that works. When we jump on it, I don't know. It just seems like, oh yeah, that works, but yeah, we don't want to go that way.
People view it like I know, like people view charter schools as kind of like elitist, even though it's like the government is the one that's elitist. They're literally taking your money to force your kid to go to some crappy school that they chose for you that you can't switch. Like if you're in that zip code and you have to go to a crappy school, you go to that crappy school. So yeah, I really am not a huge fan of public schools. I've been in a mixture all my life. Like I've been to private schools, public schools, online school, and now I'm in university. Like I've seen it all. So yeah, not a fan of public schools. So that really blew my mind when they were like, yeah, free college, but lower our taxes though, lower them taxes.
Yeah, now I get the hypocrisy of it all that kind of tweaks you a little bit, but obviously, how are we going to pay for it is the next question too, right? So it's a financial question as well.
Yeah, whenever I see any hint of socialism, I like I just want to throw it. But I think the big misconception about America is like a lot of people think America is like this great capitalist country when there's a lot of socialist aspects of it that I would like to get rid of. That's where I'm very
really
right on. Yeah, I mean I hate Social Security. Like, why is it the government's job to take money out of my paycheck? Because I'm too lazy to do it myself, to save for myself. And honestly, anyone under the age of 45 is not going to see that Social Security check anyway. So
you're right. And I'm coming around on this a little bit because I kind of take for granted the socialist aspects that we have. In Canada, same thing. We've got hospitals, we've got police, we've got all kinds of things that are run by the government. Our communal taxes pay for that. And so I think we already have, like, we're not just a straight capitalist nation. We do have aspects of socialism, and I think you need a mix of it. And it sounds like you would probably disagree with that.
It depends on the mix, because I believe that the main job in an ideal world, nearly the sole job of government would just be to protect your rights. They do a lot of other stuff besides that, which I don't like. Like, forcing your kid into a public school is not right. But, I think, police, law enforcement, military, that is to protect your rights. So I don't really view that as socialism because, that's protecting you.
Right.
But, all the other stuff, like in Maryland, we had under Governor O'Malley, like the last governor before Hogan, we had a rain tax. They would tax the rain that fell on your land. Like, it sounds like a joke. It's not even a joke. we have like in New York, there's like a soda tax. They like banned. You can't get like a 2 liter soda, but you can get 2 of the 1 liter sodas now because it's like they're trying to help you. They're trying to make you like healthier. Like it's just government unnecessary government intervention. I don't like any. So that to me is socialism, and we still view America as like this big capitalist stronghold. Look at all these fat cats in their suits holding their money, but like meanwhile we're like down here paying all these taxes. We got the soda tax, we got like all these tax like just rules. Like another thing I hate like a lot, mostly like business licensing, and it's really hurt the Black community because the Black community things like hair braiding, barbershops, things like that, it's like a very big deal. It's like a very cultural phenomenon, I guess. And you have to get like a cosmetology license to do that type of stuff. But in like the mainstream cosmetology licenses, they don't teach you how to do like Black natural hair, so it's pretty useless to pay and get one. But people get arrested for like braiding hair without a license. So like,
damn, what?
Yeah.
So what else would you rip besides Social Security?
So Social Security, I would rip all these unnecessary taxes that are just to get you to deter you from doing something that might harm you. Like there's politicians proposing like bullet taxes, like ammunition taxes. Like that's obviously, to me, that's a violation of the Second Amendment. Mm-hmm. I would abolish probably most business licensing, as in kids getting arrested for selling lemonade and stuff now. Like, hate that.
Yeah.
I think the governor of Texas actually signed something about that so kids can like do that again. Wow. But yeah, like I'm tired of all these people just calling the cops and just licensing, taxes. I hate it all. I hate it.
So you don't feel like you could use the tax system to deter unhealthy behaviors? For instance, you mentioned the soda tax. I call it a fat tax, so that hey, you want to kill yourself with cigarettes? You should pay for your own health care. In other words, you include the cost of your health care in the pack of cigarettes because you're going to be a burden. Well, in Canada, you're a burden on the health. And the smokers in Canada pay for way more than their own health care for the cancers and the medical problems that they get through smoking. But don't you think we can use the tax system to kind of get us off like dirty fuel? So you drive a big Hummer, you put lots of pollution into the air. Don't you think that, gas should be more expensive because you got the idea of a triple bottom line where you're paying for the disposal of whatever you're buying. So if you're putting your product in really harmful packaging, then it's going to cost more at the checkout. Like the producers should pay for it, and like when you look at gasoline or diesel or whatever, we don't really pay for the disposal of it into the atmosphere, but we're all paying for it in our health.
That's a good point.
No, it's a Green Party philosophy, and it's one I still kind of hold to. It's the idea that we want to get on to hydrogen and whatever. We want to get off the coal and the dirty fuels and onto things that work better. But on the same token, you've got these hybrid cars that the batteries, like there's more environmental cost to a hybrid than there is driving a diesel Hummer. Like it doesn't.
Really?
Well, yeah, because of the batteries going back and forth to China and there's a lot in constructing these things, like the CO2 or the emissions that go into a hybrid are like you might as well be driving like a Hummer because they just don't have that component included into it. So I'm interested in that idea of user pay. If you're dirty, you pay. If you're clean, you're driving a bike, you get a huge economic bonus. So something for you to think about maybe. You go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Oh, okay. So like one of the things I'm like not savvy on, I don't talk about the environmental issues a lot just because I'm like, it's not that I'm not interested in it. Like I try to learn more about it. I just like talking about like social and fiscal issues a lot more. So yeah, I mean, if what you're saying sounds like it makes sense to me, but I would have to think about it more. Cool.
On the 2A question, where do you stand on that? Obviously, don't take my guns, but what do you think? Is there any role of the government to stop? I don't know. I mean, these mass shootings that are there's no gun law or regulation or background check that's going to stop somebody from snapping and going mad and taking a gun into a school and just going ballistic. I don't think you can stop that. But what's your take on the 2A question versus, mass gun shootings?
So, when people talk about the mass shootings and stuff, they bring up like other countries, like, oh, the UK doesn't have these shootings. Oh, Australia doesn't have these shootings. They have pretty strict gun laws, which is all fine and dandy. But then when you look at the history of America, like before the 80s, we didn't have all these mass shootings. We didn't have all these school shootings. They basically started off with stuff like Columbine and stuff like that. But I think it was mostly a cultural shift, the age of television and internet, and anyone can go famous at any time, like anyone could go viral. And now, like, I feel like there's a lot of copycat kids. There's a lot of angry, depressed teenage boys who are on some type of medication, or maybe they don't have a dad, or they grew up in an abusive home. And and they see this in the news, like, oh my God, he shot up a school. Then they want to go shoot up a school. So I think it's definitely a cultural thing. And that doesn't really answer your question, but that's just my take on why we have so many mass shootings. But on the Second Amendment, I would like to keep my Second Amendment rights, like, to the fullest extent. I already feel like they have banned.
Sorry, say that again, Olivia. We lost you for a second. Just repeat that. We lost you for a second there, Olivia.
Okay.
Just the last part.
I said that I think the Second Amendment has already been infringed upon because there are certain guns that have already been banned, and certain, ammunition, things that have already been banned. And then, people make the argument, oh, but the Second Amendment was written to accommodate like muskets and, stuff like that, like little pistols and whatever. But I always read it as it was written to accommodate whatever the government has at that time. So, like, because it was meant to fight back against a tyrannical government. People always act like it's about like hunting or like home invasions and stuff, and that's all fine and dandy. I would use it for that too. But when it was written with like the Revolutionary War in mind. It was written with the Declaration of Independence in mind, and how the colonies had to fight against the tyrannical government with the same weapons that they had. So if the government has, automatic weapons, like, I believe I should have automatic weapons, because it's the same people that are like, oh, the government is white supremacists, they're Nazis, they're terrorists, the NRA is domestic terrorists. Then why don't you want to protect yourself? So why don't you want to have the same protection that they do?
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on the fatherlessness, because, I put a Twitter poll up the other day that actually got more action than a lot of my tweets get. I don't get a whole lot of tweets, and I don't have that huge a following. But my question was, what's a bigger problem in America today, racism or fatherlessness? And I think fatherlessness is like the root of, especially in the black community, the root of a lot of our problems. We don't have mentors. We don't have elders. And then... when welfare came in the States, you couldn't get welfare if you're a woman unless the man was out of the house. So there you go. There goes the father out of the house. There's been a war on, we killed God a long time ago. There's a war on traditional family. This idea that, you can't collect a welfare check if the father's living in the house. I mean, this is one of the deepest issues, I think, that's affecting our young boys, especially. What's your take on that?
I basically 100% agree. I mean, you see it across all communities, but especially the black community, because, these people are disproportionately impoverished. And so obviously they're going to be disproportionately on welfare. And then, it creates the welfare state and the welfare cycle, and it happens again and again and again. And you see these at-risk boys, they go to school, they fight, the gang recruits them, they have guns, they get shot by a gang member, shot by their friends, shot by the police. And I think a lot of it just stems from not having a dad to be like, put that gun down, go to school. Because a lot of these moms, they work 2 jobs, so they have multiple kids. So it's like, I don't know. It's a hard thing to fix, because I think it starts with, the crime bill and stuff like that. That's a big part of why I'm very libertarian on like nonviolent drug offenses. So, I don't know. I feel like when, there's an opioid crisis, like a lot of white people in America do like opioids. They go to rehab. But like the crack epidemic hit, and like black fathers went to jail. So.
Yeah, Chappelle touches on that too, and I just put, you know how you're familiar with something, you know it to be a fact, but it takes someone to actually say it, and they're like, oh yeah, the crack was for blacks, the opioids are for whites, and he's kind of like, see, now you know what we were going through.
And he was like, I don't feel bad for y'all. I feel bad for them though, because the public high school I went to was in like a smallish town in Maryland. There was a lot of heroin and like opioid use there. So I do feel for those people. But what I'm saying is like these nonviolent drug offenses on these depressed, impoverished people, that's going to take a lot of the dads out of the household. So that's why I'm a part of the reason I'm a big libertarian on that issue. And then I feel like there's a lot of, I don't want to say police brutality because I don't think that's the right word, but like over policing, because there's that trend of, you know, drug crime and gang violence. And then that creates like a really bad relationship with the cops and the people. So I'm sorry, I'm like going off on a tangent.
No, that's good.
But yeah, I think it would start with like something to reverse the crime bill, something to reverse the welfare state. You know, like as you said, like you can't get a check if the dad lives with you in the home with the kids. So, but I do think it was deliberately made that way. Wow. I'm kind of a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. I mean, some conspiracies are actually historical. They're actually true. You know, what else I find interesting, and you kind of touched on it lately, is as far as the environmental impact on our youth. I can't remember where I heard this the other day, though, but it was the idea that there's certain pockets of communities that have been violent and crime-ridden forever. And like they go back for decades and decades and decades, and looking at police reports and going, oh, look at this, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all through this one little pocket. They've had the same people doing the same crimes over and over and over. I'm not sure what the fix is for that, but I think that it's cultural and environmental from the standpoint of like where you grow up, where you hang out, where you go to school. Hey, there's lots of gang activity, there's lots of murders, lots of guns, lots of drugs, and it never changes.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, Black America wasn't always that way. There was a period after slavery, Reconstruction, where, you know, the former slave states, the Confederacy, was doing their very best to enact disenfranchisement laws against Black people. Meanwhile, you know, people like Booker T. Washington and other Black activists were becoming doctors, lawyers, you know, philosophers, things like that. And then we hit Jim Crow, and the Black family union was actually very strong because, you know, Black people needed each other. You know, they needed to stick together. And then after integration, it was said that there was this quote by Martin Luther King. He was like, we integrated into a burning building. And that's a very lesser known quote because people view him as like a very kumbaya, like we're on this together type. I'm not saying integration was a mistake. I'm just saying like kind of how it happened and what happened with the crime bill and like the crack epidemic and all that kind of stuff tore the family apart. But what I'm trying to say is Black America wasn't always this way. Black Americans were had a lower divorce rate, had a lower single motherhood rate than white people for a while. In like I believe it was 40s, 50s area. So yeah, I think that there was a deliberate conspiracy to break up the family, to put the dads in jail, to put the moms on welfare, to put the kids at risk, because this is not like a genetic, like racial thing. Like Black people aren't like this, but in this country they are for, I believe, those reasons.
Okay, I want to respect your time, so we'll start to wrap up now. I want to talk. I want you to close with telling us what you're up to, what you're looking at doing. But first, before we get there, tell me about throwing that dummy around in the wrestling gym. That was awesome.
Yeah, it took a lot of practice. Like I think the first time I ever did it correctly was only just last year. And this
how
is
much
like
does that thing weigh, and how do you flip it backwards without breaking your own neck?
It's actually not, it's not heavy. It's like 40 pounds.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, I think it says like 17 kilograms on it. So that's like 38, 39 pounds. Okay. It's not heavy. It's really not heavy. And some people are like heavy. Talking, it's really awkward to carry. So it feels a lot heavier than it is.
Did that thing go viral?
Huh?
Did that tweet go viral?
Semi-viral. I muted it though because people were making fun of me. They're like, "Oh, that weighs like 30 pounds." I was like, "Shut up! You can't." I would like to see you do it with nothing. Can you just do a freaking backflip and land on your face? No, you can't. So shut up.
I love it. Shut it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, there was a lot of insecure men on that post, but that's okay.
A lot of insecure men out there at all. A lot. Anyways, they seem to hit me on Twitter a lot, and they all seem to be these virtue signaling lefties, which I have no time for. Again, I'm an old school lefty. My first election was 1993. When were you born?
2001.
So I was running for the Green Party. Oh my God, I'm getting old. I'm going to be 51 this year, but wow. And I really appreciate having these young conservatives on. I had Gen Z conservative on not too long ago. He was great. Ashley St. Clair was awesome. And then suddenly my YouTube channel blew up months later because she said the thing about 12, like there's 12 immigrants in Colorado. Well, she said 12 and everyone, and I hate how they do this. They take the sound bites, they take it out of context.
Honestly, I felt bad for her because I've like talked to her on Twitter before and she seems like a sweet girl. And I'm like not a big fan of when people like try to, like, we talk about cancel culture on the left and then a bunch of like I don't agree with her, does not follow her. There's no need to like drag people for it. So I think she's a sweet girl.
Yeah, sorry you cut out just at the end there, but yeah, I get your point. I like her too. I didn't know, like I met her on Twitter, and I joked with her the other day. I knew you since you were 25,000 followers old, and then she's at 150 or something now. And she was generous. Yeah, you want to? I asked her to come on the show just like you are, and I had no idea she was that young. I don't know if it was the picture or whatever. Maybe it's just I don't have an eye for age anymore. But yeah, she's really gotten herself well placed with Turning Point USA. I think she's hooked up with Charlie Kirk's group and Candace Owens. And so I enjoy her platform. I enjoy her takes. But now I'm more conservative and more like, if you don't stand for free speech, we got nothing to talk about. If you don't think that life starts at conception, really, come on. Like, it's biological, like, blah, blah, blah. So, and I'm not saying outlaw abortion. I just, Crowder did that video of the 9-month abortion, the girl with the 9-month-old baby inside her at the abortion clinic against the will of her husband. She already had 2 kids. I'm like, how do you, like, I don't even care how you...
I think we can reach a compromise on that, though. Like, I think the Georgia heartbeat bill is a good compromise, because I don't think you're ever going to really outlaw abortion.
No, and I'm not saying you should.
People will like, accidentally kill themselves by trying to do it themselves. But I feel like I think a lot of pro-choicers aren't being honest with themselves when they say, oh, it's not alive until it, like, is actually birthed. So I think that, like, when you think of a heartbeat, like, okay, when somebody dies, they don't have a heartbeat. So when someone's born, like, if you can, make that connection, like, I feel like that's okay. Yeah. It made a lot of pro-lifers happy. It made a lot of pro-choicers like, well, we still have a little bit. We have a little window to do it. So I think we can come to a compromise. It's definitely not ideal if you're very staunchly pro-life. But I think the Georgia bill is something that we could emulate.
Now, tell us a little bit about is it OAN?
Yeah.
OAN. I thought it was AO. Is that Jackson Network? Okay, yeah.
Jack Posobiec, yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of time for him, too. He seems pretty reasonable. I don't know him all that well.
He's so nice. He's a really nice looking person, yeah. Like, I'm always scared of meeting, like, Twitter people in person. Because some of them actually... I'm not going to name names, but some of these, like, big celebrities, like, really mean in person, but...
Oh, come on, drop some names. Who's treated you like garbage when you met them?
No, sir. But I will say who's very nice. Jack Posobiec is so nice. Joy Villa is, like, the nicest person ever. Like, seriously, like, she calls me her little sister. Like,
is she on OAN, too?
Oh, no. She's you know who Joy Villa is?
No. Joy Villa?
Yeah, Villa. She's that girl from the Grammys who wore, like, the giant MAGA dress, and she went, like, super viral for it.
Oh, yeah. I'm not familiar with her, but I don't watch a whole lot of the Grammys either.
I didn't watch it either. I saw it on Twitter, and she got so much hate for it. But every year at the Grammys, she wears, like, a big, like, Make America Great Again dress, just some type of conservative thing. And she was at Trump's social media summit, like, 2 months ago.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, she's the nicest. A lot of these people are cool. A lot of people kind of suck, but it's like, that's politics.
Who else have you been meeting?
I've met Candace a couple times.
Can't
I've
believe
met
she
Charlie.
got married. I'm so bummed that she got married. I was so depressed when I saw the ring on her finger, and then she posted wedding photos, and I was just like, it's over for me. I'm done.
Yo, I thought she was gonna marry Charlie. Like that's when she said she was engaged. I was like, Charlie? And it's like some British guy. I was like, okay, well, best of luck to y'all.
Charlie Kirk for president? What do you think?
You know what? I kind of hate his tweets. They're like, they all look like the same. But in person, he's actually a pretty decent guy. I know a lot of people that work for Turning Point, and I don't like a lot of people that work for Turning Point.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've been pretty critical of them. I think they need to vet their people more. Like they have a lot of like kind of snakes in the grass, like I would say. But I do think Charlie's he's an okay person. Like, he's decent. I don't think he's like corrupt. I think he actually believes in conservatism. If he didn't have a Twitter and you would just see his videos of him like debating and the stuff that he organizes, I would be like, yes, like he's pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I don't know. Whoever manages his social media is like bad. But like he's a good speaker. He's young.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He's very close to the Trumps. I've met Donald Trump Jr. and I've met Mike Pence and I've waved at Donald Trump, but I didn't get to shake his hand.
18 years old. Listen to the resume and all the people she's bumping into. So what's next? What are you doing? What's the next show you're going to be on? You're going to be on with Candace Owens? Like what? Who's going to bust your Twitter account wide open and make you a superstar? Because you're pretty well known already, so that's good.
I don't think I'm well known. I think I've been recognized in public like twice. So, the fame gets to be too much, you know. I was like, no paparazzi. But I don't know. Like I said, I would love to be on Crowder's show. I would love to be on InfoWars, to be honest, because I know people who've been on InfoWars, and they put people on. Like they don't have just like big people on there. Like my friend Camelia, she painted like this painting, and it was like a pro-life painting. It was about a mother who was like mourning her baby, and it went like semi-viral. I think got like maybe 10,000 likes on Twitter. But InfoWars had her on to talk about it. I thought that was really cool. So I would go on InfoWars. I would go on like Crowder's show. I go on a lot of people's shows. Like 90% of the people that DM me, they're like, can you come on my podcast? I'm like, yeah, because I like talking to people.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time, and I want to respect it. I've kept you for about an hour now, so we were a little bit late today. Just on the way out, tell everyone how they can get a hold of you, and you got a Patreon account? We can give you some money, or like what's up?
Oh yeah, I do have Patreon.
All right.
I have one patron, so
and I have about 5 followers that probably won't give you anything. So, but it's always worth an ask.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just my name. Like if you go on Patreon and search like Olivia Rondeau, it's Rondeau, and then my channel name is the same, like on YouTube, and then my Twitter. Like if you don't want to like watching videos or any of that kind of stuff, I post like a lot of my commentary, and I post a lot of my articles that I write on Twitter. So that's at Rondeau Olivia, or just search Olivia Rondeau and you'll find it.
Rondeau. Thank you, Olivia. I love you. Keep strong and stay golden. And I really appreciate the time. Thanks for doing this. And we'll get in touch with you the next time you bust something that goes viral, or I get you on Crowder's show. I want you to, I don't want you to say, I'm too big for the Jim Fannon Show. So I appreciate your time anyways.
No, I'll give you a shout out when I have my own show.
Awesome. All right. Well, stay golden. Well done. I appreciate all your work out there and your time today. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Right, cheers. How do you sign this thing in? Just keep them rolling. That's cool. That's Olivia Rondeau if you need her. Pretty cool. Let's stop this. Now, I don't know why I couldn't get the recording of the audio on. But let's see if it's... Yeah, there's no audio. I've got an hour of video. I'm going to have to figure out that sucker. Matthew James Blake's going to come up. Thank you, brother, for running. Everything's still rolling. Twitter's rolling. Facebook is rolling. All right. Matthew James Blake's going to come in. He brought his axe, and he's going to play some tunes. Let's just see. Where is this video here? Oh, yeah, we're still live. And, yeah, so Olivia added me earlier. Oh, I forgot I had this shirt on. I found this shirt in the back of the closet. I don't know where it came from, but it's a Mirrors Golf Tournament shirt, and I'm not sure where I got it from, unless it was Brian McMullen's. Yeah, well, they put your weed in it. So stay tuned if you're watching on the Facebook or Twitter. Matthew James Blake is at MJB Niagara, right? He doesn't know. You don't even know you're on Twitter again. MJB Niagara. You can add him up there, and we'll talk to you soon. MJ, take us out of here. I should have Jay Baty's little riff that he played for us, so we can play that on the way in and out of the segments. That'd be good, but catch us soon. Get me out of here, MJ. Wasn't too bad.